Well, today was an interesting day for sure. There were a number of issues that were discussed. There was a bit of argy-bargy, and the biggest impediment to progress was it took us half an hour to get to live stream because of IT issues within the establishment. But finally we got on top of those, Trina, and
We did.
and we dealt with a number of issues, some of them quite controversial, some of them that have been simmering away in the background for some considerable amount of time. We had a number of presentations, and we had some interest in the council's ongoing. So, yeah, look, I think the first issue was...
Well, for me, just even the public forum was excellent. The three presentations that we received in relation to probably the evacuation centre or the multi-purpose centre and the sale yards all wound into one. All three presenters were excellent. They came up with great ideas, and that came through very clearly to councillors, and we all listened, and as a result we are now actually going to endeavour to reach out to ministers and to also the auspicing bodies or the bodies that are handing out the grant funds, because we really need to understand that what has happened over the last 2 years has been incredibly difficult, and we're now trying to decipher through it all, and we really want to make this work for the community, and we can only do that with their support.
We've got to make it work for the community. There's no risk about it. It's about finding an appropriate location, and obviously in the process there are going to be people who aren't going to be happy with the outcome. But I think the presentation we had today regarding the sale yards and the need for the evacuations facility, which is essentially 2 basketball stadiums or courts, is something we've got to address. So we've agreed that we'll get together with the people involved in this project in the next week or 2 weeks at the maximum, and work through the options, that some of which they raised during the presentation today. So, yeah,
and I think that Jason Bevan, the presentation that Jason actually gave us, and his passion for it, he has been with this for such a long period of time, and so really this council needs to work with Jason and a group of people that he can coordinate so that we can actually make this happen.
And it's got it.
It
it's
has
been around for too long, and let's move on to other things, and if we don't put it to rest, it'll just be there, and eventually we'll lose the money, and it's just not
That's
an
not
option.
what I want.
That's right.
Talking about moving on, Chaff, there was a notice of motion or a rescission motion. There was a misunderstanding a number of months ago in relation to the mayoral fee, and anyone who's actually listened to the live streaming would have heard that the intent of the mayor's comment was that, you know, he wasn't looking for the additional increase. He was happy with the current remuneration that he was receiving. And when you look, you know, none of us get onto council because we believe that it's going to be an alternative income for us. We understand that part of it is almost like a voluntary part of our lives. But for those who really put the time and effort in, it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of hours, and I can attest to the fact that the mayor that we have now in Ian Chaffey is unprecedented in... I know, don't get too
carried away.
But really quite unprecedented in how he moves around our entire local government area, engages with people, goes and sees things, and I think it's just practical that he should be remunerated at what he was before, and that was a misunderstanding, and we're all human.
Look, let's move on to one of the issues that was discussed in detail, was the Battlo to Tumut rail trail, and a proposal that we support the development of a
business case
for the proposal. Look, at no point in time is this suggesting that the rail trail will go ahead. It's about knowing or gathering information so that the community and council can make a decision. One of the issues that is of my major concern, certainly to me and to my fellow councillors, is engaging with all those people that have a skin in the game, from my point of view, and of course the government has now brought out a totally new way of going about rail trails, and it does give us the opportunity to not only develop a business case but look at alternative ways of achieving the outcome that is usually driven by sticking to the rail trail or the rail corridor. So that potential is still there. Unfortunately, the council decided that we wouldn't participate in the advocating for a business case, but we were prepared to support the Batlow Rail Trail Committee in applying for a grant to do that business case study, and I think it closes on the 24th of this month.
Yeah, in a few days. I think, and this is one of those issues that, you know, as a council we don't all agree. Not everybody's going to agree, but when it comes down to it, it's about politics. It's a 50+1. And so there were people who were for supporting the group that are going ahead with this, and the majority weren't. So we now move forward, and we need to make sure, because a business case is something that clearly gives us an understanding or an indication of how it can progress if it were to progress, if indeed it's even viable. So there's some of the things that are really important, and probably moving even on to our next point is the Snowy Valleys Council. One of the things we moved today was the Snowy Valleys hardship policy. And we understand very clearly the difficulties that have been associated with the introduction of the special rate variation.
But not only that, the inflation effect that's occurring in our community, and we understand that there's people who are finding times difficult, and as such we've developed a hardship policy that takes into account mechanisms whereby people who are finding that situation difficult, that we can be a little bit compassionate in the way we go about addressing some of the issues they have with regards to dealing with Snowy Valleys Council.
And the beauty of that hardship policy is we've actually included a number of sites that they can go on to receive that level of support, because it's probably one of the most difficult things for somebody to have to put their hand up and admit that they can't afford to pay. And we don't want to add to that burden. So we really do encourage people, if you don't feel comfortable or you don't understand the policy, please contact someone at council and they'll talk you through it.
Yeah, look, it's essential. Don't feel in any way embarrassed about it. We're here to help you through this process, and you know, I'm sure we can come to an agreement or an arrangement that suits everybody. So, yeah.
Now the gift that keeps giving, Chaff, the Snowview estate up at Tumba.
Finally, you know, probably 6 years after it should have been constructed, but council's give a go ahead to develop 18 blocks in Snowview Estate, stage 3, and at some point in time we'll also, due to activities involving the draining of an existing dam, put an extra 3 blocks on the market. So yeah, look, it's great news. We hope to have the blocks ready for sale first quarter of next financial year, and as such, you know, we'll see that estate reach its finality, and then we'll look at the potential for going further down the track with making available more land.
And the demerger. The
demerger, eh? Look.
Again, another gift that keeps giving.
Look, the demerger issue is you know, it's alive and well. Koodagundigai have got their proposal in front of the Minister. Minister Tuckerman has got to make a decision. I'm not sure whether it's this Friday or next Monday. Next Friday or this following Monday. And the council's agreed that in the event of the the Koodagundigai proposal getting a Guernsey, that we will develop gather some costings to develop a business case and proceed with a proposal of our own. The result that Koodagundigai got in their latest attempt was 3-1, exactly the same as the original proposal that got the acquiescence of the Boundaries Commission for the demerger of Tumbarumba and Tumut. So, you know, maybe the government's now got an appetite for demergers. But yeah, essentially, those of us who are in favour of demerger sort of had to defer to the fact that council not proceed any further until such times as the outcome of the Cootamundra.
And I think it's fair to say too, Chaff, that, or should I say, Mr. Mayor, everyone,
people call me Chaff.
most people call you Chaff, that it was a unanimous decision to support the proposal of a demerger depending on the outcome of the Cootamundra-Gundagai Council decision. But it's something that needs to be managed, it needs to be planned. We need to understand the costing of preparing those reports and where the funds come from. But without exception, everyone at the table is fully supportive of that proposal of a demerger.
And the crunch is, if this present government doesn't have an appetite for demerger, why waste our time? Let's hold our ammunition until the upcoming election in March, and depending on the outcome there, maybe there'll be a way forward that we can proceed there. But that doesn't mean to say that we can't, in that intervening period, develop a better business case than previously done. And if you read the legislation, the business case is pretty simple. It doesn't need to go into the fine detail. It just needs to outline the reasons that you're applying. And look, this is not going to be an easy proposition, and the council's well aware of the fact that we need to get the timing right so that we don't go out and commit funding that doesn't have a Guernsey. So, yeah.
Well, that's probably it. And
Right,
again,
so.
everyone, apologies for the
late
issues.
commencement.
Yeah, no, technology's fabulous when it works, and I know that the staff were working incredibly hard. We do apologise for any inconvenience. It's good to know that people are sitting there waiting for it to start. Chaff.
Eager
so I mean, you know,
that's right.
So that's always a positive, but it certainly wasn't intended. It wasn't a deliberate thing. We weren't trying to exclude anyone, but we do apologise, and I have no doubt, just as they have done for the last week, tested it every day, and it worked perfectly. It worked perfectly this morning, and then it just didn't.
That's right. Yeah. And look, I've found over the last few weeks of attending a number of community meetings in the local government area to be quite enlightening, and it's good to get out and have a yarn to the people who've got concerns. And essentially, I think this council would like to see the community have a greater engagement in driving their own agendas, and council needs to be very supportive of those communities, ensuring that we're not an impediment to progress, but we actually help and facilitate them achieving some of their objectives, consistent with it being beneficial to the wider community.
And on that, I think big shout out to the Battler United
did a marvellous job.
Community Chamber. To see that number of people, there would have been
there
35,
Sunday,
40.
Yeah.
Cold, wet Sunday afternoon, and they all had so much to contribute. And they're the things that we as a council need to really
We're
engage with.
We're encouraging that. We want to see the community.
We want to be a part of it.
We want to engage with you people. And look, we're in a steep learning curve at present. Some of the issues that we've inherited haven't had that process in them, and also having inherited it, we never necessarily haven't developed that skill to the level that we need. But we're working on it. My word. And feel free to give us a bit of a heads up on how you see things
or
going.
invite us to your community meeting.
Yeah. And we'll make every endeavour to at least have representation there.
Yeah.
And anyway, look,
Thank
we
you.
could rabbit on for longer, but thanks for the opportunity.
Bye.